morning. Start your day informed and ahead. Today is Thursday, the 20th of August. I'm Angela Lagusad Castro.
And I'm Cheska Litoncala. We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day.
From the news desk to the digital space, we have got you covered. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Now, first in the news, monsoon rains continue to batter parts of Luzon, leaving communities flooded, homes damaged, and residents displaced. Here's the report.
From Pangasinan in the north all the way down to Mindoro, communities are still grappling with flooding that has refused to let up. In Pangasinan, 51 barangays remain flooded as habagat rains continue. In Bugalyon, rubber boats have become a lifeline for residents still needing to be rescued. Even in higher areas, people have to wade through waist-deep floodwaters, with some streets turned into waterways for nearly 3 weeks. The flooding has also forced hundreds of residents in Bani and Calasiao into evacuation centers. Farther south in Bataan, water levels have been rising and falling as intermittent heavy rains continue. A red rainfall warning was again raised over the province on Wednesday, with floodwaters reaching waist to chest level in some communities. In Hermosa, some residents who had already returned home had to be rescued again. Marivela saw a similar situation. 16 of Hermosa's 23 barangays remain flooded. In Pampanga, only the rooftops of some homes in Apalit could be seen above the floodwaters. Vehicles were also caught in the flood. In San Simon, some families have now spent 2 weeks inside evacuation centers. Continued rains have also left several homes impassable. Some motorists tried to push through the floodwaters, but were eventually forced to turn back. 2 fatalities have been reported in the province, both from drowning. In Batangas, the floods have also turned deadly. A grade 6 student in Mabini died after falling into a canal and drowning. A 2-year-old child in Batangas City likewise drowned after accidentally falling into a fish pond. The damage is just as severe in Mindoro. In Abra de Ilog, raging floodwaters ate away at riverbanks, sweeping away several homes. In Mamburao, some residents were left stranded on their rooftops waiting to be rescued. And in Nauhan, where so-called ghost flood control projects were flagged last year, communities are still dealing with flooding and questions over effective flood protection. The bad weather has also triggered deadly landslides. In Puerto Galera, a motorist was killed after being caught in a landslide while parking his motorbike.
Meanwhile, the Department of Health reported a 35% decline in leptospirosis cases. As of August 8, the DOH recorded 3,440 cases, down from 5,318 cases during the same period in 2025. However, cases rose 27% over a 2-week period, with 348 cases recorded from July 12 to 25, compared to 275 from June 28 to July 11. Amid heavy rains brought by the enhanced southwest monsoon or habagat, the DOH has positioned 3.1 million doxycycline capsules nationwide. The DOH also urged people exposed to floodwaters or mud to seek medical consultation within 24 to 48 hours, even without symptoms. Right, so as we know, floods are nothing new, especially when it's typhoon season here in the Philippines. And so is the risk of leptospirosis, especially for those who wade through floodwaters. So it's really important that we are educated about leptospirosis. And there are 4 things I want to emphasize when it comes to this. First, it's a bacterial infection, and you can get this through contaminated water that has the urine of infected animals, most especially rats. And this bacteria can enter your body not only through cuts or open wounds. Kasi sasabi ng tao minsan, di ba, pag may sugat ka, huwag kang magsumuano sa baha. But no, it can also enter your mouth, your eyes.
Your eyes. Kung matalamsikan ka, no? It's a possibility.
Yung mga nagsiswimming dyan sa baha, exposed po kayo dyan. And leptospirosis is also fatal, So anyone who's exposed to this, whether bata ka, matanda, you're really at risk. So the good thing is that to prevent this really early, the crucial time there is 24 to 72 hours. Dapat mag-seek na po kayo ng medical assistance if you're exposed para mabigyan po kayo ng antibiotics.
Yung tinatawag nila na prophylaxis.
Yes.
If you know that you are exposed in the
Then preventive,
flood,
oo.
hingi na kayo sa... Actually, kanina pinag-uusapan nga namin ni Pawi, tinatanong niya kung libre ba yan. Kasi there are certain barangays and hospitals that give free
Yes.
doxycycline para dun sa mga kailangan na mag-take nito.
And aside from leptospirosis kasi, so every period of heavy rains, the DOH uses an acronym, yung WILD niya. So
Yes.
waterborne infectious diseases, influenza, leptospirosis, and dengue. So aside from leptospirosis nga, like there are many other things in floodwaters that may, pose serious risks to your health. Yung waterborne infectious diseases pa lang, also cholera, typhoid fever, hepatitis A, marami pa yan. Then, yun na nga, like yung dengue, the mosquitoes and everything, like stagnant water. Yun na nga, there are 4 types of dengue also. This is not like Pokemon, you don't want to catch them all.
Totoo.
So this is why we always have to keep reminding everyone na if you can, prevent yourself from wading into floodwaters, then avoid it. Pero syempre, like, anong magagawa ng taong bayan
Yeah.
if all the roads are flooded? Like, sometimes it's unavoidable. So we just need to take precautions na yung either magbotas ka na lang or yun na nga, waterproof bandages, also very important if may mga sugat ka. But, at the end of the day, sana masolusyonan na yung pagbaha.
Yung baha.
Sometimes kasi, most of the times, hindi lang sa road yung bahay. Mismong bahay nila, yung mga communities that we go to. Kapag nagre-report kami, mismong loob ng bahay nila yung baha. So, yung iba, sanay na, pero kasi syempre, di ba, kailangan naman mapaayos yung buhay nila. But going back dun sa leptospirosis, it's good that you mentioned that na may mga surge talaga ng cases because of the flooding everywhere, no? And, of course, yung DOH sinasabi nila, the medicines, enough naman yun, yung doxycycline para dun sa magkakaroon ng leptospirosis. And the hospitals and the barangays are actually in code white alert. So it places yung mga hospitals, health facilities and medical personnel to be ready in case there's a potential surge of patients, 'di ba, dahil nga dito sa laki ng kaso ng mga leptospirosis. And going back naman dun sa mga baha, I think I saw a report earlier today that the president said na okay, may baha pero mabilis naman subside. Pero 'di ba, at the end of the day, sana walang baha, na walang mag-subside. At saka kung mabilis mag-subside, siguro Metro Manila, o sige, I'll give it to you. May mga areas talagang mabilis mag-subside. But look at Zambales, look at Bataan, look at other Bulacan, di ba? Parang ilang years na silang lubog sa baha doon. So these are the areas na talagang hindi naman tayo po pwede yung tanggapin na lang natin yung baha. No, it cannot be because every time na, di ba, every rainy season, sinasabi ko nga ito, the same questions come back. Di ba? It rains, communities flood, and people demand answer. And then politicians naman promise solutions, and then the storm arrives again, and then we are faced with the same problem.
Sure
How
ako
do we break the cycle?
Sure ako next year ito pa rin pinag-uusapan
I'm sure.
natin. Same problems, same flood control issues.
Dadaan lang summer, then after summer, ito na naman pag-uusapan natin.
Exactly. So hopefully next year, we get better news. Instead of floodwaters receding more quickly, some cities, communities, provinces will finally report na wala nang baha. But I don't know, maybe that's a dream for now.
Diba? Sa dami ng mga flood control projects, ng mga master plan na pinagplanuhan ng in every administration and billions of pesos na pinag-uusapan natin dito, we are still faced with the same problem.
All right, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro is facing criticism after linking some teachers to the behavior of their students. Castro made the remarks during Tuesday's briefing while discussing the shooting at Ateneo de Zamboanga University.
Nakita mismo ang ibang mga guro ay lumalabag sa ganitong klase ng moralidad. Sila minsan ay nagtuturo sa kanilang mga estudyante kung papaano maging walang modo, lalong-lalo na sa mga nakakatanda or sa mga ibang tao.
The Alliance of Concerned Teachers demanded an apology from Castro, saying educators were insulted by her remarks. Castro later clarified that she was not blaming all teachers but was emphasizing their important role in guiding young people and shaping their behavior.
So, siguro po ang dapat na magbigay ng paumanhin ay yung bigay ng maling konteksto sa ating sinabi. Dahil marami nagsasabi na walang guro na nagturo ng mali. At pinapaalalahanan ng muli na napakalaki po ng inyong role bilang pangalawang magulang sa ating mga kabataan.
Okay, so so ACT Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tino was the one who said na kailangan ng public apology, that Press Secretary Claire Castro needs to retract and apologize, and that the blame is out of place. It's an attempt to cover up the administration's failure to ensure the safety of students and teachers and employees. He also said that the comments were unwarranted, gratuitous, and illogical. And for Palace Press Secretary Claire Castro naman, she said na wrong context. Because may incidents siyang pinangalanan mismo. So the incident in Davao City where some students were yelling at President Bongbong Marcos, and then there was also, she sort of screenshot of a video of a teacher saying inappropriate things or using inappropriate words to describe the president also. Context and pero syempre naman, like, with teachers, we just talked about this yesterday.
They sacrifice so
Dami
much.
na nga ng role na ginagawa
Yes.
nila kahit na hindi na sila dapat. Di ba? Pinag-usapan natin yesterday. They go through extra mile. Di ba? Para lang to provide what they can for the children.
Whether it's providing supplies out of pocket, going out of their way to reach their students. Teachers are, they're burdened with a lot of things that they should not be burdened with.
And that's why the Alliance of Concerned Teachers, they were dismayed that they didn't receive any apology from Yusek Claire Castro yesterday. They feel like they're being used as a scapegoat. But we all know naman this is a very fragile topic, right? Violence in schools. So now, instead of siguro pointing fingers, maybe we can just focus on solutions. How do we prevent this, right? Maybe we need stronger guidance, mental health solutions, diba? Let's improve our guidance system, especially because education always has the lion's share of the national budget. So maybe next year we can see that go to programs that will benefit both teachers and students when it comes to their mental health.
Exactly. Ako, I wanna look at it na valid ba na magbigay ng reminder sa mga teachers about their responsibilities? Yes. But tama ba na iugnay yung pag-remind na yon doon sa shooting na nangyari? I think that's not fair. Because talagang may yon, ang tendency mo na i-connect mo yun eh. So why are you blaming the teachers? Ang youth violence naman can be attributed to so many factors. Bad parenting, yung iba biniblame na social media, video games, diba? Tapos yung, of course, yung kakulangan sa response ng school dahil walang guidance ka. Ang dami. So you cannot just blame it to one person. So I guess the timing of what she did or what she said, yun yung yun yung questionable here.
All right, don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Pag-asa is monitoring 3 tropical cyclones as the habagat continues to bring rains over Luzon. And joining us now is Pag-asa weather specialist Dr. John Manalo. John, ano na ba ang latest sa ating panahon?
Thanks. Good morning, Miss Pauline, at ganoon din sa ating mga nakasubaybay ngayon. Para po sa magiging laging ng ating panahon, dito sa Ilocos region, ganoon din sa Batanes, Zambales at Bataan, patuloy pa rin na makakaranas tayo ng mga pag-ulan. Pero dito sa Metro Manila, Cordillera Administrative Region, natitirang bahagi ng Cagayan Valley at Central Luzon, kasama yung mga probinsya ng Cavite, Batangas, Laguna, Rizal, Occidental Mindoro, Oriental Mindoro at Palawan, ay magiging cloudy pa rin pero bawas na po yung tsansa ng mga pag-ulan. Actually, sa ilang bahagi ng Metro Manila ay makakaranas na tayo ng maaraw na kalangitan, pero in general, may mga passing clouds pa rin po na ibig sabihin ay posible pa rin yung mga pag-ulan throughout the day. Sa natitirang bahagi ng ating bansa, mainly yung Visayas at Mindanao, actually yung ilang areas po dyan ay nakakaranas ng mainit na panahon at maalinsangan. So, para naman sa mga minomonitor natin ng mga bagyo, itong si bagyong Neneng ay mas hihina na po. Imposible sa mga susunod na oras ay maging low pressure area na lamang. Isa pang tropical depression na nasa kanluran ng outside PAR ay wala na rin po magiging epekto sa anumang parte ng ating bansa. Ang posible na lamang po ay itong si Tropical Storm Saudel na nasa layong 2,960 kilometers east ng northeastern Mindanao. Ito po ay may posibilidad na lumapit sa PAR o pumasok ng PAR by Sunday and Monday. At ito rin po yung posible na humila ng habagat, kaya naman ay posible na magiging cloudy na naman by Sunday afternoon, Monday onwards. In short, kung isa-summarize po natin, ngayong araw po dito sa Metro Manila at sa western section ng Central Luzon at Northern Luzon ay magiging maulap pa rin, pero mas mababawasan na yung chance ng mga pag-ulan, lalo na bukas at sa Sabado. Pero by Sunday, ay dahil dun sa paglapit nitong si Tropical Storm Saudel, international name niya po ito, ay may potential na naman na maging maulap at nandiyan na naman yung mataas na chance na naman ng mga pag-ulan. Wala naman po tayong nakataas na gale warning, pero mag-ingat pa rin po kung maligtas sa sakyang pandagat yung gagamitin ng mga kababayan nating mangingisda o manlalayag, mag-ingat pa rin po dito sa northern and western coast ng Luzon. At yan po yung ating update mula dito sa Pag-asa.
John, kasi dito sa Metro Manila, lumabas na yung araw, ano? So, hanggang Sunday lang pala ito, hindi dapat makampante ang mga tao. So, pwede ba nating asahan na next week, babalik na naman yung maulan na panahon?
Yes po, may potential po na ganyan po yung mangyayari, pero partly nakadepende rin po dun sa magiging pagkilos nitong si bagyong Saudel, yung international name niya. By the way, yung binanggit ko po na timing ay may posibilidad po na magbago ito. No? Sunday to Monday yung timing na posibleng pumasok ito ng PAR, but of course nakadepende pa rin. Kung mas bibilis ito, posibleng Sunday, at kung babagal pa ito, posibleng Monday pa yung pagpasok niya ng PAR. At kapag bumagal ito, kapag nasa northeastern part ito ng PAR, mas tatagal din yung paghila niya ng habagat. Ibig sabihin, mas magpoprolong pa yung habagat, yung mga pag-ulan na associated sa enhanced habagat.
Alright, maraming salamat para sa mga update na yan. That was John Manalo, Pag-asa Weather Specialist. Meanwhile, former Zaldico security aide Orly Guteza has recanted his testimony linking former House Speaker Martin Romualdez to alleged deliveries of cash. In a new sworn affidavit, Guteza said it was not true that he delivered money to Romualdez. He also claimed Senator Rodante Marcoleta and former Congressman Mike Defensor pressured him to testify against Romualdez, and that an affidavit had already been prepared for him. Guteza said he followed it out of fear, despite knowing that some details were false. He also claimed he was promised cash and scholarships for his children. The ombudsman is waiting for the new affidavit before commenting, and Marcoleta and Defensor have yet to respond. Now, the Senate pushed through with its work despite Wednesday's bad weather. Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian says the chamber's continued session shows the taxpayers are getting their money's worth. And for more on this, let's go live to mobile journalist Merimon Reyes. Merimon, ano ba yung mga tinalakay kahapon sa Senado?
Pauline, kahapon walang impeachment trial dahil sa hindi magandang panahon pero ipinagpatuloy pa rin yung plenary session sa Senado wherein Minority Leader Senator Alan Peter Cayetano naging present na siya dahil nga absent siya nitong mga lumipas na araw at linggo dahil daw sa hindi magandang karamdaman and kinumpleto na ng minority block yung mga miyembro ng Senate committees. Ito yung ni-raise ng isa sa mga senador na Senator Tulfo last week na nagkaroon pa ng palitan kay Senator Pia Cayetano kasi nasabi dito na ni Senator Raffy na meron daw para pang-hostage, hindi raw makausad, hindi raw matutukan ng Senado yung legislative duties nito, pero kumpleto naman nakahapon. At sinabi naman ni Minority Leader Alan na sinusuportahan din sila, kumbaga nakikiisa sila sa nais ng majority na mabilisan yung pagtatrabaho nito, maipagpatuloy yung pagtatrabaho nito. And yung ilan sa mga na-assign na nila minority members sa iba't ibang committee, sa Committee on Tourism, Chairperson, Senator Dante Marcoleta, Vice Chairperson, Senator Camille Villar. Ilang mga miyembro dito, Bongo, Aimee Marcos, Senator Lauren, Mark Villar, Robin Padilla. Committee on Basic Education, miyembro sila Senator Aimee, Senator Lauren, Pia, Bongo, Mark, Robin, and Senator Camille. Sa Committee on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, sila muli, kadagdag lang dito si Senator Bato de la Rosa. Sa Committee on Labor, sila ulit nakalagay dito. Dagdag si Senator Jingo Estrada, Senator Bato. And marami-rami pa pero isa pa dito sa Committee on Migrant Workers naman, Senator Aimee, Bongo, Mark Villar, Robin Padilla, Senator Bato, Camille Villar, and Rodante Marcoleta. Pagdating doon sa Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, kasama dyan sila Senator Aimee, Senator Bongo, Senator Bato, Senator Robin Padilla, and Senator Lauren Legarda. Pero napansin natin na kahapon, absent pa rin itong si Senator Lauren and sa huling nasabi sa atin ng Senate Secretary Ray Bantug, on medical leave hanggang August 19 ang senadora. Pauline.
Oo, so kapansin-pansin nga Mary mo na wala pa rin si Senator Lauren Legarda, pero may naging tugon ba ang senadora dun sa ilang reports na kaya daw siya umalis ng bansa ay para daw mag-seek ng political asylum para maiwasan yung mga kaso na posible niyang kaharapin dito sa bansa?
Pauline, tulad nung, kasi 3 beses na siyang nag-file ng kanyang medical leave, yung August 3 to 5, August 10 to 12, tapos itong 17 to 19. Pero ang pinaka-nilinaw nila dito, yung track record niya sa trabaho niya raw bilang senador, ito na yung nagsasabi na nagtatrabaho daw siya ng maayos. She was just on medical leave. Pero ang nasabi naman na ilang mga senador last time, ina-expect naman nila na magpapakita na anytime soon itong senadora. Pero kung tungkol naman ito sa attendance ng senadora sa session o kaya naman sa impeachment trial, ang nasabi dyan ni impeachment court spokesperson Atty. Reggie Tonggol, pagkakunwari may ilang senador na lumabas ng plenary hall, sakop pa rin naman daw yun. Ang kumbaga meron dito sila sabi na yung parang attendance sa plenary session. So kapag nagka-roll call kayo, present kayo, continuing naman yung attendance. Pwera na lang kung magkakaroon ng contesting o may magka-question doon sa quorum. Same din naman sa case nito, pero maaari pa rin naman na pag pumasok itong si Senator Lauren, updated pa rin naman daw siya. Kasi sasabihan din daw siya ng kanyang staff, ng kanyang opisina, at makikita rin naman daw kung ano yung nangyayari sa session maging sa impeachment trial. So yung isa sa mga abangan natin kung kailan na magpapakita si Senator Lauren. Pauline.
All right, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes. Now, a 13-year-old Filipino baseball player is taking his game to one of the world's top sports training centers. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho tells us more in this report.
At just 13 years old, Ateneo de Manila baseball player Aiden Lazaro is already making history. The shortstop and catcher is the first homegrown Filipino baseball player to train at IMG Academy, one of the world's premier sports training centers in Florida. For Aiden, the opportunity still feels surreal.
Okay, so when I first got the news, I was so excited and it just felt surreal as I always saw like YouTube videos or posts about IMG being the #1 sports academy, and I felt so happy that I would be able to go there.
But Aiden's journey didn't start in Florida. He first picked up a baseball bat at just 5 years old after he and his mom stumbled upon a poster for Ateneo's baseball varsity tryouts. Fast forward to today. He has served as team captain multiple times and helped the National Capital Region win gold at the 2025 Palarong Pambansa. This summer, Aiden spent time at IMG, training with top coaches and players and getting exposed to high-level sports science and performance programs. And the experience made him realize there was still more to learn.
Even before the IMG, I really thought I leveled up my game, but then there was a point where I realized, oh wait, there's levels to this. So that's when I learned I had to step up my game. When I went to IMG itself to see the players there, the coaches, and the training programs they had.
That means more work, while also keeping up with school. But he's ready to put in the work. Aiden will continue studying at Ateneo while shuttling between Manila and Florida during school breaks to train at IMG. And he hopes his journey can help put Philippine baseball on the map.
For the baseball community, I would say it's very rare for stuff like this to happen. As you know, baseball in the Philippines isn't as popular, and for me and my teammates and a lot of my coaches were trying to make it more popular. So I think it's a really rare accomplishment, and I hope more stuff like this can happen in the future.
Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho. We are One News.
Now don't go away because Money Talks with Kathy Yang is up next to get you ahead of the markets. I'm Pauline Berzosa. Stay tuned to One News.
Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang, your intel on the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, President Marcos says within a month there will be a detailed engineering on 30 sites that will be used as underground water storage facilities. The Philippine peso nears a 62 per dollar level, a stock slump on worries over the Middle East crisis. And Meralco pursues partnerships with electric cooperatives as the debate over system loss heats up. Attorney Arnel Casanova, SVP and Head of Strategic Distribution Unit Partnerships of Meralco, joins us live. Jr. has ordered faster and longer-term flood control measures as heavy rains from the southwest monsoon continue to affect the country. On Wednesday, Marcos ordered continued dredging as well as the replacement of aging drainage systems and upgrades to seawalls and other flood management structures. He also directed the completion this month of detailed engineering for 30 sites for underground water storage facilities. The president said these efforts have already helped lower floodwater and speed up drainage in parts of Metro Manila. But for Metro Manila Council Chair and San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora, flood control also starts with what people do with their trash. He urged the public to see waste as a resource and explore ways to turn it into useful products.
Tandaan po ninyo, hindi po yan mag-isang sumulpot dyan sa ating mga waterways. Meron at meron nagtapon po ng mga basurang yan. At hanggat na may nagtatapon ng basura sa ating daluyan ng tubig, babalik at babalik po talaga ang problema ng pagbabaha. Hindi pwedeng nagko-complain tayo sa baha, pero tatapon naman tayo ng basura sa katubigan, di ba? So, kailangan may disiplina tayo sa ating sarili.
And with flooding and prolonged rains disrupting daily life, one health expert is reminding the public to take precautions and look after their well-being.
options.
All right, we're talking about all of these sicknesses and naputol tayo sa what are the other things we can do to boost our immune system?
Okay, exercise. Kailangan
Okay.
yan. Lalo ngayon.
That's a long-term
That's
thing.
a long-term.
May pondo ka na nun.
May pondo ka
Okay.
dapat nun. You eat healthier. So, ibig sabihin, yan na naman. No?
May mga alam ko daming manonood dyan, strike 2 na yun. Exercise, eat healthier.
Eat healthier. And then sleep. Pinakamahalaga tulog.
Wala tayo. Parang wala tayo dun. Sa tatlo.
Yun, wala tayo. No?
May supplements ba?
Supplements, yeah, vitamin C. No? Pero kasi pagka may sipon ka na, wala nang magagawa yung vitamin C to prevent the sipon kasi it's already there. Vitamin D is also needed.
Meantime, public and private schools in Metro Manila and 17 provinces will shift to alternative learning arrangements today as habagat rains continue. The Education Department is proposing that individual schools be allowed to resume face-to-face classes if their campuses are safe and accessible, even when city or municipality-wide suspensions remain in effect. Prolonged monsoon rains are expected to weigh on third quarter business activity, with retailers, restaurants, construction, and logistics firms among those most exposed. Analysts say heavy rain and flooding can cut customer foot traffic, delay construction, and disrupt the delivery of goods. 7-Eleven operator Philippine 7 Corporation says same-store sales at some branches fell by as much as 20% on particularly rainy days over the past 2 weeks. Still, the company says overall sales momentum remained intact in July. Construction firms could also see project delays as rain reduces workable days and disrupts access to sites and material deliveries. Meanwhile, logistics companies face higher fuel and operating costs as flooding and traffic slow down deliveries. Analysts say the impact could remain temporary unless severe weather continues or causes widespread damage to infrastructure and supply chains. The Bureau of Customs says it is confident it can hit its 1.075 trillion peso revenue target for 2027 by tightening import assessments. Customs Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno told Business World the agency will focus on preventing misdeclaration, misclassification, and undervaluation. Next year's target is 6.3% higher than this year's 1.011 trillion peso program. Imported VAT is expected to remain the biggest revenue source at about 692 billion pesos. Meanwhile, Nepomuceno said the Bureau will appeal for more funding for its modernization program. The agency had sought 28 billion pesos for 2027, but only 5.9 billion pesos was included in the proposed budget. He said the shortfall could delay the rollout of scanning machines and radiation detectors at ports. More Filipino families consider themselves poor, while hunger also worsened in the second quarter, according to an Okta research survey. Self-rated poverty rose to 39% in July from 35% in March. That translates to about 10.3 million families, up by more than a million. Hunger also climbed to 21% from 17%. Okta estimates about 5.6 million families experienced hunger, also up by over a million from March. Most of those who experienced hunger said it happened only once or a few times. Okta says poverty remains highest in Mindanao, while Balance Luzon hosted the highest incidence of hunger. As electric cooperatives face pressure to modernize aging networks and keep pace with growing demand, Meralco is pitching strategic partnerships, bringing capital, technology, and operating expertise. But for member consumers, the key questions are control, reliability, and cost. Will these partnerships deliver stable power without making electricity less affordable? Joining us now is attorney Arnel Pasiano Casanova, Senior Vice President and Head of Strategic Distribution Utility Partnerships at Meralco. It's good to have you with us, Attorney Arnel. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks
so why the renewed focus on electric cooperatives? Why now?
Well, for Meralco, we have looked at the electric cooperatives as partners for economic development. Mr. Pangilinan has made it a priority that Meralco must be able to empower electric cooperatives so that the industries could move to the countryside. As you can see in the economic data, within the Meralco franchise, the Filipino GDP per capita per annum is about 500,000 per capita per annum. but in the rest of the countryside, it's about 120 to 300 only. So there's a big gap between those who are living and working within the Meralco franchise and those that are being served by the electric cooperatives.
And that gap, how are you hoping to solve that with the intended strategic partnerships with the electric cooperatives?
Yes, the challenge among the electric cooperatives is capital and technology. So they have great people who are serving the consumers. However, they lack capital and technical capability. So Meralco has those financial resources and also the expertise for 124 years we've been in this business. So we want to infuse all this capital and share their technological capability to all the electric cooperatives around the Philippines so that they could provide reliable and affordable power.
It goes both ways because it is a strategic partnership. What Meralco puts in, the member consumers and electric cooperatives are supposed to get something out of that.
Yes,
So
definitely.
detail those benefits.
Yes, definitely, because at this, at the proposal of Meralco, at Meralco's model, the member consumers become owners because currently the electric cooperatives are set up as non-stock, non-profit entities, and that prevents them from actually attracting private financing. So in this case, the EPIRA law actually allows the electric cooperatives to convert into stock corporations and vest direct ownership to the member consumers' shares of the public utility. So in that sense, member consumers would be partners of Meralco when it comes to the electric cooperatives.
Isn't it a takeover? There have been
No.
concerns that it could be.
No, it's not actually. It's actually a partnership. It's the capital infusion, because unlike other competitors, they really take over the electric cooperatives because they take away the franchise, they take away the assets, and they even terminate the employees. In this case, for Meralco, we actually allow the electric cooperatives to stay as they are. So they would be the same entity. They would just simply convert from non-stock to stock, and then Meralco will simply just infuse equity and technology. So in that sense, the member consumers are direct owners, and the same people who are running the cooperative would be running it as long as they are running it efficiently. Yes.
Do they get reserve board seats, access to audited
Yes.
financial statements? I mean, the member consumers are going to be asking for those meaningful powers to be retained,
Yes.
even as the infusion of capital come in.
Correct. Just like any stock corporation, any shareholder would have the same rights and privileges as any stockholder. Whether you're a majority or a minority, member consumers would have the same rights.
All right, so when would you say that the partnership benefits consumers? What is it actually, how does it benefit them? Is it lower charges on their electricity bills, which everyone wants, or is it more sustained service delivery of power?
Well, the direct effect and benefit to the member consumers would be reliable power. Currently, the main challenge is actually power interruption, the frequency of brownouts and the duration of the brownouts, which prevents businesses and the economy from growing in the countryside. So, and also affects the daily lives of our member consumers. The second would be they'll be direct owner of the utility itself, and therefore they would have stock certificates, which is an asset for them. Currently, as member consumers, they don't have any stock certificate because it's a non-stock non-profit. But with the conversion to stock corporation, they would now have a stock certificate to show for it, and they would be sharing dividends in the same manner as any shareholder would have to. So it's actually a virtuous cycle which provides the consumers affordable and reliable power, and also they benefit from the efficiency and profitability of the distribution utility itself. Now, you mentioned whether would it provide cheaper power, right? So in our view, it can, because primarily, as we've always discussed, the main component of your power bill is the generation charges, right? So with the economies of scale, actually, through competitive selection process, through the power supply agreements, this would be bidded out. And of course, rural cooperatives have a cheaper power when it comes to generation if they have existing power supply agreements that are cheaper than Meralco. So the affordability and the cheaper power will come from efficiency. Because when Meralco comes in, the double-digit system losses of electric cooperatives will be dropping down to single-digit. Meralco currently has one of the lowest system loss at 5%, but the electric cooperatives have 10 to even as high as 24, 25%. So if you are able to lower that to even a single digit, that's worth billions of pesos of savings for the consumers themselves. So you get reliable power, efficient public utility, and cheaper power as well.
Still, everybody would want lower power bills.
Definitely,
Essentially, that's it. I
definitely.
mean, when you look at the bill, and we've got a breakdown of the charges.
Yes.
Anybody's power bill, how can you assure them that there is a timeline, that there has to be some patience before an electric cooperative who has capital infusion, is efficiency going to mean lower charges, lower bill charges at some point? Maybe you have a timeline for that.
Yes, definitely. Well, immediately, that's why what we want is a capital infusion, because the money that we're going to infuse to the electric cooperative will be immediately deployed and mobilized for power reliability. So when power becomes reliable, the economy grows as well. And when economy grows, each member consumers would have to benefit from it because they will have a better purchasing power, right? So an income level. So what we want to do is immediately infuse the capital. So in 1 or 2 years, immediately upon Meralco's infusion, the member consumers would definitely feel the benefit. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk. We've already talked about the model in principle, capital, and consumer benefits. Let's talk about what's going on the ground, and we have 2 case studies here. Let's take, for instance, Batelec 2 in Batangas.
Yes.
What is the status of that? The interest you have in the electric cooperative there for Meralco to infuse money, and the kinds of conversations you've had or not yet had with the electric cooperative and the consumer members.
Yes, for Batelec 2, it's very logical for us to get into Batelec 2 because Batangas is actually surrounded by the Meralco franchise. Meralco is already serving Quezon, Laguna, and Cavite. And also, we're within Batangas itself. We're serving 3 municipalities there, Santo Tomas, Batangas City, and San Pascual. So when we look at the data, we realize the impact of Meralco on the economy. And Batangas, being an adjoining entity, franchise area, we believe that it's the best suited for us to really enter into a partnership because Batangas is fast industrializing. Because Laguna's real estate has gone up so high, and it's become unaffordable for manufacturing and industries, they're now moving towards Batangas and Quezon and Laguna areas. So we need to provide power for them. And in our experience in 3 Batangas towns, the net energy sales actually in 3 Batangas towns are even bigger than the energy sales of 2 electric cooperatives, Batelec 1 and Batelec 2 combined. Simply because the industries have moved where the Meralco is serving. So when we do that, then the suppressed economy, I say suppressed because the infrastructure is not there and power reliability is not there. Once Meralco comes in and we provide reliable power, the industry should immediately move. So where Meralco goes, business goes. And where Meralco serves, business also grows as well.
Has that been enough to convince the electric cooperative to consider private sector participation? Because where we're at, they're saying that they're still studying whether private sector participation would be beneficial.
Yes. Well, it's a challenge because, but for the consumers, they actually want Meralco to come in because most of them had experienced Meralco services. So there's also a running joke that in Meralco, there's already floods and yet the power is still up, right? So it's still running. So that means Meralco is really known for reliability. So if we have already submitted a proposal to Batelec 2, and we hope for them to consider it. And for the interest of transparency, we're encouraging them to actually bid it out, to have If there's any competitor who's willing and willing to compete with us, then that's the best for the consumers.
Are there any indications that a public bidding will be happening soon, competitive one?
Well, so far in their public statements, there seems to be a commitment to that because before they have made a statement actually in their public statement that they have reaffirmed their commitment to follow the law, particularly PD 269, which is the NEA law, and NEA Resolution number 88, series of 2002, which specifically requires competitive bidding when it comes to private sector selection.
So do you have a timeline already?
I hope so, but I think what I've heard is that they are actually drafting the terms of reference already to conduct the public bidding. I hope they move fast.
Let's talk about Socoteco 2. That's in South Cotabato, because this is totally different scenario you have with the electric cooperative there. You submitted a proposal to partner with the EC, but the board chose another offer, Ignite Power.
Yes.
What's been Meralco's response?
Well, we look at it as a very irregular award because the law actually requires the National Electrification Authority resolution itself requires a competitive selection when it comes to private sector participation. So it's a legal requirement. And we submitted our proposal. In fact, when we discussed it with the board actually warned us and cautioned us that it's not yet a proposal, but our presentation was simply for discussion purposes. But then thereafter, they did not come to us, and then suddenly a decision came out that they've already selected someone, the Ignite Power, our competitor, and disqualified us for terms which we are not aware of. So all these terms and evaluation of our alleged evaluation of our criteria were never were never shared with us, and transparency is actually a non-existent in this process. So we felt that the board, the Socoteco board, had violated the law itself in competitive bidding.
Are you going to formally challenge the decision?
Well, definitely we will, because we're actually studying that already. And the member consumers themselves actually filed cases in courts to stop this process, which we call a sham proceeding. And also, ombudsman cases have been filed also by member consumers against NEA officials regarding this and the board.
But there's going to be a plebiscite next month for
Yes.
the consumer members to vote on that decision. Are you going to be waiting for that, or are you going to be filing the challenge before it?
Well, our timeline is based on our how our board would approve the recommendation, but we don't need to wait for the plebiscite. It would be good if we could actually do it much faster. But currently, the member consumers themselves are taking the cudgels themselves because they will be the direct there will be direct impact on them because they will be the one to suffer from any infirmity that the selection had undergone. So they have filed cases, and on our own in Meralco, we may file our own cases as well.
As a final point, Attorney Arnel, as we're seeing a lot of challenges in the opportunity that presents itself, what you've mentioned transparency, and very important for any business.
Yes.
How would you guide member consumers in any electric cooperative to look for what metrics that would give them that transparency, which will boil down to lower consumer bills, better service delivery?
Yes. Well, I think the member consumers should first look into the capability of the partner coming in. Because at the end of the day, while there's a need for financial capability, it's also the technical capacity. Because public utility, power distribution is a very technical business. So you have to have the great engineers, and the experience must be there to be able to deliver the services. So, and Meralco has both the technical and the experience, under 24 years of experience. And of course, our resources, financial resources, which we can share. The second is actually they should have direct partnership. They have direct ownership of the utility itself. So, for example, Meralco is a public utility and publicly listed company. So our shareholders would have the right to actually look into our operation. So in the same manner that the member consumers must have direct ownership with their public utility, their electric cooperatives.
All right, keep us up to speed on the developments.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Attorney
much.
Arnel.
Thank you, Kathy.
Attorney Arnel Casanova of Meralco. And you're watching Money Talks coming right up. The Philippine peso nears 62 per dollar level. And Metro Pacific Tollway saw its attributable net income rise in the first half of the year. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang. Let's take a quick check on the Philippine peso. It opens this Thursday stronger, 61.70 against the greenback. The peso on Wednesday came close to breaching the 62 per dollar mark, slumping at 61.995 to the dollar in intraday trading. But the local unit gained some ground during the session to close at 61.815 against the greenback, still weaker than its previous close. The peso recorded its worst finish ever last July 24, 61.847 against the greenback. The currency continues to slide amid fading hopes of a peace deal between the U.S. and Iran, which conflict started at the start of March this year. Dollar-peso trading also affected by the Bangko Central's less hawkish sentiment as the Monetary Board is set to meet on August 27th. Checking in on the markets overseas, U.S. futures slightly rise in overnight trading. The Nasdaq advances 0.4%, S&P 500 climbs 0.1%, and the Dow ticks up less than 0.1%. Asian markets gained in early Thursday trading. South Korea's Kospi up 3.6%. Japan's Nikkei 225 1% higher, and Australia's ASX 200 up 0.5%. U.S. markets went into positive territory this Wednesday as the Treasury Department announces ramped-up bond repurchases that brought down yields from their multi-year highs. The Dow and the S&P climbed 0.2%. Nasdaq gained 0.1%. The weak peso caused investor sentiment to dampen, leading to a slump in Philippine equities. The benchmark PSEI tumbled 1.7% yesterday to settle at 6,158. First Metro Securities notes, besides the weak currency, the markets also tracked Wall Street losses and elevated crude prices over uncertainties in the Middle East. The sell-off was broad-based, with ICT losing 56 points, SM 11 points, and BDO 9 points. Market breadth turned negative, with decliners edging out advancers 119 to 74. The broader all-shares index fell 1.3%, with the sectoral gauges all losing ground. The 10-year government bond yields ticked up to 7.311%. For the latest on the corporate front, Metro Pacific Tollway saw its first half attributable net income rise 6% to 3.71 billion pesos as operating revenues grew despite lower domestic traffic. Total revenues climbed nearly 8% to 20.53 billion pesos, helped by approved toll rate adjustments. Metro Pacific Water says it has boosted water supply for about 10,000 households in San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. Its local unit restored a water treatment plant to its 30 million liter per design capacity, adding 10 million liters of daily supply. And Jollibee's Tim Ho Wan is taking full control of its North American business by buying out its partner's 30% stake for about $5 million. The dim sum chain plans to quadruple its U.S. footprint to 20 stores by 2028, while its partner WDI takes full ownership of the brand's Japan venture. ABS-CBN Corp is open to expanding its partnerships as the media company acknowledges that its old business model is no longer feasible. ABS-CBN President and CEO Carlo Katigbak said on Wednesday during the company's annual stockholders meeting, the network no longer depends on owning platforms to reach audiences. Instead, it relies on partnerships with old media rivals. Among ABS-CBN's partners is MediaQuest, enabling Kapamilya and Kapatid shows to air in each other's platforms. Katigbak said a new ABS-CBN is on the rise, rebuilding a company focused on content creation, 6 years after the House of Representatives denied its franchise renewal. Katigbak acknowledged that ABS-CBN is not yet earning a profit, but its financial situation has gradually improved. Revenues climbed from 9.3 billion pesos in 2021 to 12.6 billion in 2025, and debt has declined by 58% from 20.5 billion in 2019 to 8.5 billion in 2025. Meantime, ABS-CBN will turn over 3 hectares of its property to Ayala Land by mid-2027, and the board of directors approved increasing its authorized capital stock to 4.5 billion pesos, clearing the way for its planned 6 billion fresh capital infusion from the 3 branches of the Lopez family and INC Holdings Corp. And before we go, a proud Pinoy moment for Lea Salonga as she's set to become the first Filipina to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Salonga will receive the honor in September after being named the Walk of Fame's Class of 2026 for Live Theater or Live Performance category. The Tony and Olivier Award-winning star will also receive the Icon Award at the Manila International Film Festival's closing night on September 6. Salonga first rose to global fame as Kim in Miss Saigon and later became the singing voice of Disney's Jasmine and Mulan. Congratulations, Leah. That is it for Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow, 9 a.m. Have a great day ahead.
Good morning mga kapatid. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The prosecution is pushing for longer and more frequent hearings after weather-related cancellations delayed the impeachment trial. Mobile Journal Amy Atienza reports.
Justice delayed is justice denied. That is what the prosecution's impeachment advisor Robert Ace Barber said after trial dates failed to push through last Tuesday and Wednesday due to inclement weather. Though Barbers acknowledged that these are uncontrollable circumstances, it still cannot be denied that the trial is falling behind the set time frame.
So itong mga delays that are happening, hindi naman natin sinasadya ito, pero nakaka-delay po ito ng ating proseso sa paglilitis at nakaka-delay sa pagpapalabas ng katotohanan. So hopefully, bumilis-bilis tayo because sabi nga, no, justice delayed is justice denied.
Last week, Senator Mig Zubiri suggested that the time of the impeachment trial against Vice President Sara Duterte shall be moved to 3 in the afternoon. That is to maximize possible hours invested by both parties and the senator judges on the articles of impeachment set to present by the prosecution. This is also what Prosecution Counsel Attorney Lorna Kapunan wants to happen. Kapunan added that the mornings could be spent for legislative matters for both houses, not just the Senate. In a more recent development, the impeachment court also seeks the possibility of extending trial days until Thursday per week.
My view here, it's better to have 3 in the afternoon hanggang sawa. Whether it's 3, 4, or 5 days, nasa impeachment court na yan, ano? To me, the sooner the better.
Nonetheless, the prosecution believes that the pieces of evidence to be presented in the remaining days of the trial are enough to convict the vice president. During Wednesday's press conference, Kapunan also cited that VP Sara should not shift the public's attention to other matters. That is after the VP filed a motion to quash in relation to her grave threats case and another perjury case filed against her former alleged bagman Ramil Madriaga.
Parang iniiba niya ang storya so that people will not focus on the impeachment. Sinasabi na naman niya na ito na naman ang issue ng flood control. Sana naman ang presidente in terms of this. Ang tanong natin, where is the vice president in all of this? No?
The prosecution team has already spent 8 out of the 31 set trial dates for the presentation of confidential funds. On Monday, the court is expected to continue with a cross-examination for witness Gina Acosta for the same matter. Kapatid Amy Atienza, we are One News.
And joining us now is House Prosecutor and Manila Representative Joel Chua. Good morning, Kong. Thanks for being back on the program.
Hi, good morning. Good morning din sa mga taga-subaybay ninyo.
Nako, Congressman, ang dami ng cancellations sa impeachment trial. But is this a huge setback for the prosecution? How is this affecting your timeline?
Well, we expect the Article 1 will be finished by end of the month. But with the suspension of the trial, impeachment trial, baka ma-move na naman ito until at least first or second week ng September. So medyo matagal-tagal kasi yung mga minsan yung mga yung oras sa tingin ko medyo kulang sa na binibigay. So ako I agree with the suggestion of the presiding officer na sana ma-move ito from 3 in the afternoon hanggang gabi.
Kaptusawa.
Kung kinakailangan. Yes, kung kinakailangan para at least matapos na. Because of course, we do not want a protracted trial. Ayaw naman natin umabot na hanggang next year to. So sana by October or by November, tapos na to.
Well, Kong, the presiding officer was supposed to rule on the issue nung sub judice rule and proper court decorum, supposedly nung Monday, no? So, do you know po if the presiding officer will, when is he going to rule on this? And or you guys are gonna settle this amongst yourself? Kasi nakita po namin nag-hug na si Attorney Ferrer at saka si Attorney Kapunan.
Well, kami kasi we have no way of knowing kung ano yung magiging desisyon ng ating presiding officer. But we've been appealing to them na sana bigyan ng more flexibility, no? Kasi I believe that the public ought to know what is happening inside the impeachment trial, considering na yung oras 10 to 3. Halos lahat yung mga tao dyan hindi naman makakanood dahil nga office hour yan. Nandoon it's either nasa opisina, nasa eskwelahan o may mga kanya-kanyang mga trabaho yung mga tao. Kaya now the only way to explain to them, to the public, through yung mga interviews or social media. But the problem is sa social media yung mga fake news na naglalabasan. So, kung hindi naman namin ipapaliwanag kung igagag kami because of the sub judice rule, paano naman maiintindihan lalo ng mga publiko kung ano talagang nangyayari? Ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, interest ng taong bayan.
Sir Kong, without the ruling, yung contemplating po ninyo, is the prosecution actually contemplating of choosing or designating just one person to talk about the trial, or that's off the table talaga?
That is off the table because kung mapapansin ninyo, iba-iba kami mga nagsasalita.
Yes.
Like for example, kung Ace Barbers, sila kung Paul Ortega, because they speak the language. Like for example, si Kong Barbers, he can articulate in Bisaya. So which is hindi naman namin kayang isabihin yan. Ganon din kay Kong Pao at Kong Garin. So kasi alam naman natin na ang bansa natin iba-iba yung mga, bagamat pare-parehas tayo no, na Pilipino, pero mas na-articulate pa rin nila in their own language. Kasi pati sa mga regional level, nagpapa-interview rin sila. Kung ililimit lamang natin sa atin, sa mga nakakapagsalita dito, paano naman mauunawaan lalo ng mga kababayan natin sa mga iba't ibang rehiyon?
Well, Kong, you already mentioned na importante nga na mapanood ng mga tao ang impeachment trial. But, you know, people are reeling from the floods, the landslides, and with that comes less attention to the impeachment proceedings. So how do you reconcile the importance of the public paying attention to the impeachment trial and the lives that they now have to rebuild?
Pare-parehas naman yan na na dapat binibigyan ng atensyon ng gobyerno because itong topic natin sa impeachment, problema rin to ng publiko. Dahil itong pinag-uusapan natin, pera naman to ng taong bayan. So lahat naman yan ay accountability na dapat na maunawaan ng ating mga kababayan.
Well, Kong, sabi nyo nga, you don't want a protracted impeachment trial. You also want to finish this as soon as possible. But when it comes to Article 1, on the misuse of confidential funds, ang prosecution nasa 6th witness pa lamang out of 27 na inyong inilista po for this article. Is the prosecution considering trimming po ulit yung inyong witness list para mapabilis po yung impeachment trial?
Yeah, definitely. Nakita naman natin yung statement nung last witness namin, si Miss Gina Acosta. Doon pa lang mabigat na yung mga binitawan niyang salita. Ganon din yung mga binitawan ng COA. Doon pa lang matitibay na yung mga statement nila. So kung sa tingin namin ay hindi na kailangan yung ibang mga testigo dahil magdadagdag lamang sa bigat, or magpapahaba lamang at wala namang additional value, ibabawas na namin. So we can move on to the next article.
Pero Congressman, si Edward Fajarda, sigurado pong iprepresenta pa rin po yan ng prosecution after ni Ms. Gina Acosta?
Definitely. Dahil iba naman yung magiging salaysay ni Edward Fajarda, siya naman yung SDO dito sa DepEd.
Pero I'm sorry, pero po si La Chica, is this something that the prosecution is also thinking na going witness based on the testimony of Gina Acosta?
Well, kasama rin sila sa mga kinukonsider, pero based sa personally ako, based doon sa testimonya ng COA auditor, based doon sa testimonya ng dalawang ni Gina Acosta at eventually kung ni Edward Fajarda. So ano pa yung magiging purpose ng kanila magiging salaysay?
Well, Congressman, another thing that people are linking together would be yung testimonies ng witnesses sa impeachment trial to the testimony of Ramil Madriaga. But also, there's been a second perjury case filed by the Vice President against Madriaga. And then recently, Attorney Paulo Panelo said that if the prosecution presents Madriaga, it will be their funeral. So many things are interconnected but also very separate. How does this affect the impeachment trial as a whole?
Well, yung statement naman ni si Ramil Madriaga, kasama pa rin yan sa mga listahan namin. But of course, kagaya nga ng sinabi ko, titingnan din namin no, kung sa tingin namin satisfied na kami sa mga testigo kung yung mga ibang mga testigo ay magpapatagal lamang ng trial, tingin ko wala ng purpose. Bakit pa sila kailangan ipresenta?
Pero for you, Congressman, ano po ba yung pinaka na-establish na so far ng inyong mga testigo on this particular article? At malinaw na po ba para sa inyo na nag-commit talaga ang Vice President ng impeachable offense?
Well, doon pa lang sa mga statement ng mga COA auditor kung paano, bakit sila naglabas ng AOM, kung bakit sila naglabas ng notice of suspension, bakit sila naglabas ng notice of disallowance, sinasabi nila na ang reason behind that is walang maipakita mga dokumento. Doon pa lang, problema na. 'Di ba? Wala nang ibig sabihin, yung mga paggamit nito ay walang kaakibat na ebidensya. Pangalawa, yung sinasabi ni Miss Gina Acosta na dahil sa kautusan ng head of agency, which is si Vice President, na ibigay ito sa security officers. Doon pa rin lang, problema na. Bakit? Kasi ano naman bakit yung buong 125 million ibibigay mo sa isang hindi naman designated disbursing officer at wala namang kinalaman at wala naman sa batas ng authority na mag-disburse. So doon pa lang maliwanag, maling-mali na. So ano pa yung pwedeng maging testimonya dyan? Diba? So nakita natin na walang mga ebidensya. Ibig sabihin ng walang ebidensya, walang maipakitang mga resibo na totoong binili nila, yung mga sinasabi nilang binili nila, mga gamot, mga goods, hinahanapan sila ng sales invoice, ng OR, wala silang maipakita. Kasi sabi nga ng tinatanong ni Senator Kiko Pangilinan, kung lahat ba ng ito na i-produce, titigil na ang COA sa pag-i-issue ng notice of suspension at ng notice of disallowance. Sinagot ng COA, yes. So the fact na hindi sila tumigil, ibig sabihin talagang mali yung paggamit.
Kong, what is your assessment on how your team, no, especially si Attorney Ligutan, examined the witness last Monday, if I'm not mistaken, si Gina Acosta. Yung paglagay po ba kay Attorney Ligutan na siya po yung mag-examine kay Gina Acosta, was it really planned because of yung dialect, no, na kaya po niyang intindihin at kaya po niyang makipag-usap kay Gina Acosta?
Well, that is one. Siyempre, you have to consider na lahat naman kasi kami, may kanya-kanya kaming toka ng mga testigo. So, just so happen, si Gina Acosta ay, yun nga, mas makakross-examine siya in a dialect na naiintindihan niya because they speak the same language kay Attorney Ligutan. But one thing is noticeable during the hearing, yung pagsita ni Senator Erwin Tulfo.
Right.
Tama yung pagsita po niya dahil during the committee hearing ng Committee on Good Government, maliwanag naman na i-articulate ni Miss Gina Acosta yung mga sagot in Filipino and in English dialect. Makikita naman yan dun sa transcript. Why all of a sudden, biglang hindi niya na maintindihan lahat yung mga tanong sa kanya. Diba? So, dun lang makikita mo. Baka may tinatago itong testigong to. Mahirap naman na yung ganyang klase. Kaya nga siya na-declare na hostile, no?
Well, Kong, yun na nga rin yung isang naging main point of discussion in the last hearing, yung language barrier nga, at much to the frustration of Senator Erwin Tulfo. Moving forward, paano po ito masosolusyonan na hindi na paulit-ulit, hindi na madedelay dahil itatranslate dito, uulitin yung tanong?
Well, nung last time, nung nasita siya, biglang gumaling mag-Tagalog Tsaka biglang gumaling mag-English Diba? Kung mapapansin nyo, biglang, nung una, parang akala ko kahit na simpleng Tagalog at English, walang naiintindihan Pero nung nasita siya, biglang lahat ang naging sagot niya, dumiretso yung dila. Biglang naging articulate na, naunawaan na, pati sagot, English, Tagalog na. So, kasi imposible hindi ka makaintindi ng English, paano mo naintindihan yung joint circular? Bilang SDO, nakalagay yun sa, wala naman ako nakitang joint circular na nakalagay sa wikang ibang lengguwahe, bukod sa English. So, ibig sabihin, bakit ka nilagay dyan? Ba't ikaw ginawang SDO kung hindi ka nakakaintindi ng English or ng Tagalog? Di ba? So,
And during the House hearings,
maliwanag.
Kong, di ba? Wala namang ganong language barrier noon.
Wala, diretso yung sagot niya eh. Tapos bigla ngayon nawala na yung nawala na, hindi na gumaling, hindi na natuto ng Tagalog at saka
Anong
ng
basa niyo
English.
doon, Kong? Anong basa niyo?
Well,
Was it a
that is,
strategy or may
O
nag-coach or
para sabihin na hindi niya naintindihan yung tanong kaya gano'n na nasagot niya. 'Di ba? So para pag sinabi na bakit ganyan na sinagot mo, hindi ko po masyado naintindihan yung tanong kasi yun nga, what she is trying to establish talagang hindi niya naiintindihan ng Tagalog at saka English.
Okay, on other matters, Congressman, we're now 7 weeks into the impeachment trial, and yet wala pa rin po tayong nakikitang any petition before the Supreme Court regarding itong voting threshold ng 60. Alam naman po natin, marami na pong senador na hindi na pumapasok sa Senado as senator judges. So, kayo po sa prosecution, do you intend on raising this issue already? Is it now time to do this at this point of the trial?
We have yet to talk about it, but that's a good point because nakikita natin na this is a serious matter na dapat binibigyan ng serious attention. Of course, with all due respect, hindi naman natin alam kung paano nga nila ito inoobserbahan. Kasi alam mo, may mga jurisprudence sa Supreme Court na dapat yung mga huwes o yung mga judge ay nakikita yung mannerism ng mga testigo para na-base nila kung yung testigo ay nagsasabi ng totoo o hindi nagsasabi ng totoo. Kasi makikita mo naman sa mga actuations, di ba? But because of their absences, paano nga naman nila makikita? But of course, bibigyan pa rin natin sila ng benefit of the doubt. Sana lang, ang hinihiling lang natin, i-adhere nila yung kanilang sinumpaang tungkulin na magiging patas sila. They will exercise political impartiality at sana mag-base sila sa kanilang decision base sa ebidensya na inilalatag namin. In any event, ito naman ay nakikita ng publiko. Kaya nga malaking bagay po yung mga ganitong yung mga media, yung mga legitimate media outlet na ito ay naka-live coverage na sa ganon ay hindi lang yung testigo ang napapanood ng ating mga kababayan, pati yung mga senator judges, nakikita rin nila kung talagang tinutupdan ng mga to ang kanilang sinumpaang tungkulin.
Kung speaking of the public, you have been very vocal critic of the Vice President and now you're part of the prosecution team that argues na the removal from the office. Now, how can you convince the public that this is a genuine accountability issue? Kasi yun nga, sabi nga natin, importante po ang opinion ng publiko dito sa issue na ito.
Alam mo, hindi naman ako critic ng Vice Presidente as a person eh. Critic lang ako ng Vice Presidente bilang public servant. Kasi kung maalala ninyo, una ko siyang kinriticize nung siya ay DepEd Secretary pa. Dahil unang-una, siya ay DepEd Secretary and at the same time, yung pamilya niya panayang banat sa Presidente. Diba? Ako sa totoo lang, at that time, di naman ako part ng unit team. Di naman nila ako kapartido eh. I don't even know the President personally. Hindi ko naman sila parehas kilala, personal. But, siyempre, bilang public official, bilang part ng official family, at that time, nung una akong nag-criticize, sabi ko, dapat, imbis na tulungan mo yung presidente, bakit ganyan ang ginagawa ninyo? Dapat tayong lahat nagtutulungan dahil at the end of the day, pag hindi naging successful ang presidente, ang kawawa dyan yung ating bansa. Hindi naman yung presidente lang eh. Diba? Napakahirap maging presidente. Tapos naghirap kayong dalawang mga kampanya, tapos bandang huli, banat lang kayo ng banat. Alam naman natin, pag nawala yung presidente, sino ba yung magiging rightful successor? Di ba siya? So, yun lang naman yun. But personally, hindi ko naman siya binabanatan on a personal level. Sa akin lang naman yung trabaho lang naman. Tsaka yung bumiyahe siya, tinanong lang sa akin. O di, dapat mas tutukan niya yung trabaho dito. Lalong-lalo na, marami sa mga kababayan natin dito talagang kailangan ng suporta. Yun lang naman yun. Pero hindi naman ako bumabanat sa kanya. Minsan, wala naman kayong maririnig na binanatan ko siya ng personal.
Well, Kong, we've also heard renewed calls for the Vice President to face the impeachment court. We've heard from Kong Barbers, Kong Abante. But just yesterday also, sinabi rin ng Vice President na there's no reason for her to face the impeachment court. There's no reason for her to attend because her lawyers represent her. So we're at an impasse here. How do you resolve the impasse? How do you address this?
Well, dati kasi nakita naman natin, no, si Justice Corona, kung paano niya binigyan ng importansya ang impeachment, na nagpakita siya mismo nandoon. But at the end of the day, legal strategy ng defense kung ipepresenta nila ang vice presidente o hindi. So, ako naman ay inaantay ko rin kung ano yung kanilang magiging legal strategy. Pero mas maganda rin talaga kung siya mismo ang sasagot. Kung bilang head ng agency at bilang tao na nagbigay ng pagbabanta, mas maganda rin na marinig natin sa kanya yung mga tanong na matagal nang inaantay ng mga kababayan natin.
Well, I was wondering kasi kung ang yung pong isyong gusto ng prosecution na magpakita si VP Sara, ang tanong po dito, bakit hindi na lang po gawin ng prosecution na hostile witness po si VP Sara? Is that a possibility?
Well, sa ngayon, hindi yan ang nasa amin na consideration. But sa akin, it's a matter of legal defense. So sa akin naman kasi, iba rin naman yung ano ko dyan. Iba rin naman yung tingin ko dyan. So diskarte nila yan ng defense. Kung ano yung sa tingin nilang mas makabubuti sa kanilang depensa. Dahil baka mamaya, pag siya yung naipresenta, patansya nila, baka mamaya hindi naman makabubuti para sa kanila. So, at the end of the day, diskarte ng defense yan.
Alright, and on that note, maraming salamat po, Congressman Joel, for always sharing your time with us and your insights.
Thank you.
Again, that was House Prosecutor and Manila Representative, Congressman Joel Chua. Thank you, Kong.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat. Maraming salamat din.
Alright, now don't go away because we still have more matters to discuss right after this quick break. Keep it here on One News.
Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News.
Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla is calling for changes to the law on loose firearms, including tougher accountability for gun owners who fail to secure their weapons. Mobile journalist Jazz Paredes reports.
Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla himself said that 98% of gun crimes are caused by loose firearms. And the Secretary blames Republic Act 8294, or also known informally as the Robin Padilla Law. According to the Secretary, because of that law, accountability has been relaxed for those arrested for possession of loose firearms or unlicensed and illegal guns.
Padilla Law, which extinguished culpability and made it a bailable offense, has led to a surge of crime precisely because loose firearms is a bailable offense.
The Secretary is calling on Congress to pass a law that will hold gun owners accountable for being negligent with their firearms. Under the current law, a gun owner may only face reckless imprudence when another person uses their firearm in the commission of a serious crime. The Secretary says there should be equal accountability for both the person who used the gun and the owner of the firearm. According to the DALG, there are 2.78 million registered firearms in the country. 2 million of these are in the hands of private individuals, while 780,000 are being used by law enforcement agencies, including the AFP, PNP, BJMP, NBI, and others. That is why the Secretary says it is now time for the Philippines to tighten regulations on the responsibilities of gun owners.
So I ask Congress, help us, join us, help us fight criminality, impose the laws which will make a difference.
However, at present, Republic Act 8294 is no longer the law governing the regulation of firearms. It has also been amended by Republic Act No. 10591, or the Comprehensive Firearms and Ammunition Regulation Act of 2013. Nevertheless, Senator Robin Padilla thanked Remulla, whom he called a friend, for confirming that there is a Robin Padilla Law. He said the law repealed what he described as the martial law era Presidential Decree or PD 1866. Padilla also said he has filed a bill seeking to penalize gun owners who are negligent with their firearms if these are used by others to commit a crime. He also said the heavier penalty should be considered if the negligent gun owner is a government employee or official. Kapatid Jazz Paredes, we are One News.
Businessman Atong Ang remains out of authorities' reach as the manhunt continues following the issuance of a warrant of arrest. For the latest, we have mobile journalist Jazz Paredes. Hi Jazz, go ahead.
Yes, Angela, no. Ito nga ongoing manhunt operations itong kay business tycoon Atong Ang ay nagpapatuloy until now. There have been rumors of this arrest, but for now, the Philippine National Police has dispelled these rumors dahil sa ngayon wala pa raw silang natatanggap na impormasyon kaugnay dyan. Ngunit sa ating panayam with the PNP spokesperson Allen Rico, kanyang sinabi na ongoing ang manhunt operations kay Atong Ang at kagaya ng iba pang mga wanted na with warrant of arrest until now. At kung babalikan natin, Angela, sa mga dating impormasyon na nakuha natin kaugnay nga ng manhunt operations kay Atong Ang, ay kinumpirma ni DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla na nandito pa sa Pilipinas itong si Ang at huli siyang namataan sa isang bahay sa Cavite. Ngunit sa ngayon ay hindi pa ulit na naglalabas ng impormasyon ang DILG at ang Philippine National Police kaugnay ang kanyang whereabouts at kung ano yung huling impormasyon kaugnay ng manhunt nga dito kay Angela.
Meron bang latest statement ang abogado ni Atong Ang?
Sa ngayon, Angela, wala pa tayong natatanggap na huling statement patungkol dito kay Atong Ang mula sa kanyang abogado. Ngunit patuloy nating babantayan ang mga movement at mga susunod pang update patungkol dyan, Angela. Pero sa ngayon, wala pa tayong natatanggap, Angela.
Alright, thank you so much, mobile journalist Jazz Paredes.
The camp of former House Speaker Martin Romualdez is set to hold a press conference today. For the details, we have mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Amy, what are we expecting from this press conference?
Yes, Jessica, right now we are waiting for the press conference of Ade Fajardo from the camp of Martin Romualdez. At ang possible na makuha din natin dito na statement ay yung recantation nga ng testimony ni Orly Gutes pagdating doon sa kaso ni Martin Romualdez sa flood control, no? Right now kasi nasa preliminary investigation pa lang ito ng Office of the Ombudsman. Pero ang sinasabi kasi dito, malaki yung naging epekto ng recantation nitong testimony ni Guteza dahil dito nakapaloob no yung evidence sa cash deliveries kung saan nga doon sa original testimony ni Guteza nakasite doon na as part of the initial evidence na may established na systematic scheme involving the recurrent delivery of large sums of cash transported using the maletas. At ito nga yung mariinding itinatanggi no, ng kampo ni Martin Romualdez kung saan nga sinasabi na ready naman daw siyang humarap pagdating na dito sa investigasyon na ginagawa ng ombudsman. At sinasabi din no na ito nga flood control issue ay hindi naman daw totoo at wala siyang kinalaman, no. At yun yung nababanggit din ni Guteza kung saan sinasabi niya na he was pressured by Senator Rodante Marcoleta pagdating nga doon sa paggagawa nitong testimony. So tingnan natin kung ano pa nga ba yung information na maaari nating makuha pagdating nga dito sa nangyayari pa ring investigation ng Ombudsman pagdating nga kay former House Speaker Martin Romualdez.
Amy, Guteza specifically named Senator Rodante Marcoleta and former Congressman Mike Defensor. Have we heard anything from either camp?
Well, so far wala pa, pero isa nga din sa nakuha natin earlier today is a statement from the Office of the Ombudsman na sinasabi nila na hindi naman daw bago yung recantation sa mga high-profile case. At dito din sa statement, sinasabi ng Ombudsman na mayroon pa rin naman daw 28 witnesses na nakahandang magbigay ng direkta at material na kaalaman sa mga transaksyong sinisiyasat sa kaso ni dating Speaker Martin Romualdez. So sa ngayon ay nasa ilalim pa rin to ng legal process at kailangan pa rin nilang kumpirmahin kung gaano nga ba kalaki yung magiging kaso dito kasi so far hindi pa naman na ito conviction ni dating speaker at inintay pa lang din natin yung magiging response mismo ng investigators with regards to this particular case dahil noong August 7 ay nag-file na rin naman ang kanyang counter affidavit itong si former Speaker Martin Romualdez pagdating nga dito sa isyong to.
All right, thank you, mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Stay tuned, Morning Matters returns after a quick break. Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Public and private schools in Metro Manila and 17 provinces will shift to alternative learning arrangements today as the southwest monsoon or habagat continues to bring rain over parts of Luzon. The Department of Education is proposing to allow individual schools to resume face-to-face classes even if city or municipality-wide suspensions remain in effect, provided their campuses are safe and accessible. The proposal seeks to minimize class disruptions without compromising student safety. President Bongbong Marcos has backed the proposal.
And joining us now is Attorney Joseph Noel Estrada, Legal Counsel for the Coordinating Council of Private Educational Associations, or COCOPEA, and Managing Partner of Estrada Law Office. Good morning, Attorney. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Good morning to all of you and to your viewers. Good to see you too.
So this time we will be talking about the multiple class suspensions that were issued in light of the bad weather. Attorney, tell us, how does this impact really the learning of students as well as the impact for schools, given that we're already facing a very serious learning crisis here in the country?
Well, for one, it greatly impacts the school, not in a positive way, but of course in a very negative way because it disrupts learning. Remember that we only have 200 class days and it's hardly completed every year. So because of the many disruptions. So it's really a good thing that DepEd had come up with these new policies, pero ang haba nun na 45-page new DepEd order. But I think the real problem is not really on the cancellation or suspension rules or who suspends. No? Kasi minsan naghihilhan, local ba, national, or school level. But I think yung kadikit dun sa sinabi ng DepEd, provided that it is safe and accessible. So the root cause is really, are our schools prepared to handle and adapt to these conditions when weathers are not favorable. So whether it's man-made or natural calamities, are we ready to continue with learning? Yun ang talagang problem eh.
Oh. Yun nga no, kasi we've seen parents turning to social media na naman and complaining about how late the class suspensions were in the past few days dahil nga sa bagyo. And I've been telling them nga na parang 2026 na, attorney, until now we're still talking about how are we going to suspend the classes.
Correct.
If we need to suspend the classes. Yung kanilang suggestion to direct the schools or give them authority to declare granular, what do you call that? School level class resumptions. Is that okay ba?
Sa amin sa private schools, we welcome that. No? Kasi para sa amin yung at the school level, if decisions are made at the school level, these are better decisions kaysa nanggagaling sa taas. Minsan hindi yung whether to suspend it or not, because you know when it's already calamity proportions or flooded na yung buong city or the region or in Metro Manila, parang superfluous na nga yung announcement eh. Nakita mo na eh, for sure hindi ka na magpapapasok. So hindi na magtatalo whether to suspend or not. I think yung decision points na very sensitive, yung number one, when do you suspend classes? Eh minsan yung magulang na ihatid niya na doon.
Exactly.
Tapos bilang suspended. So minsan mas hassle pa na biglaan yon rather than wait for another time. Remember nung, siguro magkakaedad ba tayo? nung dati, ang suspension is either 4:30 a.m. or you wait 11 a.m. for the afternoon classes. Otherwise, you stay in the schools kasi safer doon at mas organized yung pagsusundo.
Kaya nga pagka wala pang suspension ng 4:30, sabi ko, gisingin nyo na si
Wala
Mayor.
na. At saka parang sure na yun na may classes. Yung mga ganun. And then also yung shifting from in-person to synchronous or asynchronous or hybrid platforms. Yung mga decision na yan should be made at the school level.
Okay. But now that you pointed out the age thing, I'm sorry, I just need to bring this up.
Sorry.
No, because it was more difficult to find out before if classes would be suspended or not. Tatawag pa.
Correct.
Landline pa yun. But now there's social media. Natawa si Pao.
Lumalabas kasi talaga yung... Talaga tumatawag pa kayo nun?
Tumatawag talaga sa school, promise.
But now there's social media. There's group chats. So why is it so difficult?
Yeah. Kasi alam mo, Jess, kapag tinignan mo yung context talaga, yung history, ano ba yung policy before, makikita mo yung difference eh. Kasi before, hindi na kailangan mag-announce or may meron lang designated na mag-a-announce. No? Halimbawa, yung pag-asa, meron siyang automatic suspension, di ba? Signal 1, 2, or 3. Tapos yung localized suspension happens only kapag walang typhoon or storm signal sa pag-asa, but the local government can localize the suspension. In other words, hindi nagsabi yung pag-asa, pero for flood-prone areas, call ng LGU. Ay, ibig sabihin, the general rule is, kapag walang storm signal, may pasok. Yung localized is an exception. Tingnan nyo ngayon, kabaliktaran. Kasi kahit walang storm signal at may baha, the general rule is suspend agad lahat.
Yeah.
Pero wala namang, nobody's also willing to take the exception to say, dito sa amin, okay, pasok tayo.
Oo. No, kasi
Diba?
just like today, attorney, di ba, maaraw na in most parts of Metro Manila, pero suspended pa rin ang classes today.
Yes.
Now, if we implement this school-level class resumption, it's up to the school, na, sige, pasok na kayo. But there are also concerns for some parents na, teka, binabaha pa rin yung lugar
Correct.
namin, or yung bahay namin, it will be hard for our kids to go to school and to bring them to school. So how important is flexibility rin?
That's really very important. But yung flexibility cannot be isolated in discussions about readiness also of the schools. Kasi yung flexibility mo, pag wala ka namang option, it's either you just suspend or just resume, di ba? So yung sinasabi natin na dapat merong capability yung mga schools, lalo na sa private schools, no, to shift to online or hybrid learning platforms with ease, no? So pero maraming mga private schools hindi naman lahat kaya ng magulang na tustusan niyang mga ganyang development sa schools. Hindi naman pwedeng itaas basta yung tuition. So dito papasok yung support ng government dapat, no? That's number one. Number two, the policy environment should allow that to thrive. Kasi ngayon ang tingin natin sa online, parang inferior siya, di ba? Parang kailangan lang natin siya during emergencies. Dapat ginagawa yan kahit walang emergencies para yung shifting natin is really seamless. Anytime.
Yeah.
And ito, by the way, binasa ko nga yung dahil dito sa ating, so binasa ko kahit 45 page at ayun naman ay primarily for public schools. Like for example, yung granular decision of a private school, you still have to coordinate with the local government. So I don't know what coordinate means because in actual situations in different localities, coordination means approval. No? So maghintay ka pa kung sinong designated, ang daming back and forth. Bago ka makapag-decide, it's obvious na wala ng klase or resume na ang klase.
So medyo may gray area pa
May
doon.
mga gray areas pa rin.
Pero syempre, the bigger question here moving forward, how will the students catch up from
Correct.
the days of suspension?
Yes.
Diba yung sinasabi nila ngayon na 3-term na system, is that effective ngayon? Makaka-catch up ba talaga yung mga estudyante given with that new system?
Yun na nga, so this becomes that test, di ba? That litmus test. Kasi sabi nila, kaya daw may 3-term school calendar to address the disruptions brought about by adverse weather conditions. Pero sa ngayon, hindi pa siya fully implemented sa private schools. Optional pa siya. Next school year pa daw. Actually, hindi ko rin masyado makita yung direct connection of the three-term school calendar with the class suspension. Sabi lang nila, yung content, parang pag merong mahabang suspension, hindi masyado maraming mawawala sa estudyante. I don't know kung how that means.
Maintindihan kasi meron silang 4H protocol, yung hinay, hinto, ganyan. Isn't that also parang ganun din naman yun sa tinitignan nila na granular school level class resumption sa parang, dito sa parte ko na school na to, pwede pa pumasok ang mga estudyante ko.
Yeah, you raised a good point. Kasi yung ba ngayon, yung flexibility na yun, papasok lamang yun doon kapag nakapag-decide na suspended or tuloy. So, ibig sabihin, hindi naman siya totally, like, pwede mo ba sabihin na hayo, ibig sabihin, normal lang. Kung nag-suspend na nga ang local government at national, you cannot say sa school mo na, hayo, sa public schools.
Hayo, hindi pwede.
Exercise mo lang lahat yon kapag it will all depend on the decision of those officials, whether it's national or localized.
Okay.
Wala ka masyadong flexibility eh.
Okay. But with regard to catching up,
Yes.
like there's also the issue of stunting. So
Correct.
stunting pa lang, you're trying to catch up already. And then with the class suspensions or the, alternative learning, catching up again, are we just perpetually in a state of catching up?
Yeah, actually, that's the unfortunate thing. Sabi nyo nga, matagal na natin problema, hanggang hindi pa natin na-resolve. No? So, yung weather has become more and more unpredictable, di ba? But the flooding is more and more expected, di ba? Parang ganon. Pero wala pa rin naman tayong ginagawa, no? So I think we have to address this from different approaches. Binanggit mo yung stunting pa lang, di ba? These are even before they go to school, may problema na nga eh. Maraming behind na in terms of learning. And these are all compounded because of the disruption in classes. At hindi po lahat ng estudyante natutuwa pag walang klase. Baka akala natin di ba? We cater to those yung popular belief na mga estudyante ay masaya kapag marami nalulungkot din pag walang klase. No?
Lalo na pag mahaba na attorney, 1 week nang di mo nakikita yung mga kaibigan mo, mga classmates mo.
Wala kang baon.
And it affects also the working parents, di ba?
Yeah, totoo.
Yes.
Per attorney, when it comes to makeup classes, sabi nga rin ng EDCOM, it's not one size fits all. Kailangan tailored din yan, especially for younger children, yung mga nasa grades 1 to 3, kasi they found na actually mas vulnerable sila pag walang direct interaction with their teachers. So pag ganun, ano po ba yung best method for alternative learning?
Sa ngayon, syempre marami dapat tayong options. At alam nyo kasi pag sinabi nating education for all, dapat walang reason na may bata hindi makakapag-aral regardless of disabilities and even geographical locations. Ngayon ang pinag-uusapan lang natin, geographical location lang di ba? Hindi pa pantay-pantay dahil iba binabaha, panay ang suspend, yung iba tuloy-tuloy. So dapat lahat yan ma-address including the modes. Yung modes medyo complicated na because it requires resources, yung online, and these are highly regulated by the way. No? Alam niyo po dahil sa mga nangyayari ngayon, hindi lang sa typhoons, but also concerns on safety of children, may mga parents na naghahanap na ng schools na fully online. At unfortunately ngayon, there is no policy in the Department of Education that allows that. It is an exceptional thing, an individual circumstance. Halimbawa, ikaw, you feel unsafe because of certain restrictions, you can apply. Ikaw lang, or health or safety concerns. Pero wala yung default na papayagan nila ang isang school or private school na ito yung mga standards, pwede kayong mag-deliver ng online to parents who want it. Baka dati, iniisip natin, konti lang yun, a very small portion of the population. But now, that concern is growing. Naghahanap sila at nagtatanong sila.
Well, kasi attorney, the way I look at it, we have been very reactive lang in terms of responses natin sa mga ganitong bahay. Never tayo bagay, no? So parang never tayo naging proactive. Ika nga, no? So we have to remember, kaya binalik sa June yung klase natin because nung mainit, ang dami ring suspension. But ngayon binalik sa June, suspension ulit dahil because of the rainy season. So in COCAPEA, ano po ba yung best recommendation ninyo to adjust din? And also yung pagdating sa online classes. So do you prefer ba na talagang integrated na yung online classes sa curriculum, no, doon sa sistema ng eskwelahan?
Yes, kami kasi we're always advocating for maximizing the benefits of the resources in the private sector. Kung yung government is very limited because 47,000 public schools, ilang 27 million or 30 million students, nahihirapan sila. Yung flexibility and innovation, yun ang mapoprovide ng private sector. So, ibig sabihin, yung mga development of new modes and platforms for teaching and learning, dapat nakakapag-provide kami yan So, by having said that, dapat the policy environment should allow that to thrive. Hindi over-regulated. Kasi parang ang tendency palagi is the private sector is assessed or evaluated based on standards in the public schools. So, parang lagi it's kailangan free or near free, affordable, mga ganon, no? So, or equity. Of course, these are all important, but you have to look at the entire education sector. Ano ba yung role that the private sector plays, no? So, yun ang kailangan natin. Of course, malawak na usapin pa yan, but we have to address the root cause of disruption of classes, whether it's stunting, whether it's typhoons, or lack of resources. Kailangan talaga pag-usapan na yan. At dapat integrated nga yan sa curriculum. No? Hindi lang naghihintay tayo kung kailan may emergency, saka lang tayo mag-iisip how to continue with the learning and teaching.
Well, Attorney, you briefly touched on this a while ago, that parents need to work.
Yes.
And when children are in school, that's when the parents are at work. But
Yes.
with the class cancellations, the suspensions, the late suspensions at that, what concessions need to be made for the parents to be able to provide, a living for their children,
Yes.
and still have the ability to come pick their children up from school, especially single-parent households. Ang
Right,
hirap
right.
nun.
Yeah, especially for those who have children at a very young age. Kasi pag nag-cancel yon, susunduin mo. Hindi mo rin pwedeng iwan sa bahay yon. So the parents have to take a leave from work, no? Or take a break from work. Kaya nga yung schools meron siyang social context din, 'di ba? Hindi lang siya delivering education. So katulad niyan, it supports families, 'di ba? It allows the parents to work. So dapat tingnan yung aspeto na 'yon. Kaya hindi pwedeng we just cancel or we just resume, no? So when we decide, we have to be responsible yung effect niyan. Kaya ang sinasabi ko nga, yung decisions are best made by those who are there, no, in school, at the level of those who administer schools, because they know better scheduling, they know their communities, they know their parents. May mga group chats pa nga yan, diba? So hindi pwedeng very irresponsible yung decision coming from the top. Sabi ko nga kanina, lagi ko sinasabi, kapag calamity proportions na, actually hindi ka na kailangan mag-announce pero yun doon nag-uunahan. I think bakit hindi doon sa aspeto na yung pagtulong, no, yung support, dapat doon nag-uunahan Hindi yung pag-cancel and then that's it. No? Parang, I think doon tayo nagkukulang as a community.
And it's really important that we're talking about this kasi as we mentioned earlier, we are facing a very serious learning crisis in the Philippines, di ba? Studies have shown na about 19 million Filipinos ang functionally illiterate.
Correct.
To attorney. So from a bigger picture, does COCOPE have any recommendations for our government on how to address this?
Ako, napakarami
Oo
na.
nga It's a very it's a tough question.
Yeah, pero ito, just on this class disruptions, alam nyo, sabi ng mga researchers na hosted by EDCOM, no, by different entities, alam mo yung disruption in classes, more than those missed by the students, hindi doon ang worst effect. Ang effect yung lack of interest ng estudyante. Nawawala yung momentum niya sa learning kapag lagi kang nag-suspend ng classes. So, it contributes to the learning crisis. So, kahit sabi mo na mahaba na ulit nag-resume yung klase at nag-makeup ka pa, may mga Saturday makeup, tapos magkakaroon ka ulit ng break na napakahaba. Nawawala yung interest ng mga estudyante mag-aral, nawawala yung momentum. So, dito talaga kailangan ma-solve talaga natin. We should be able to shift seamlessly to other platforms to ensure continuity of learning and teaching. Pero yung crisis na haba pa.
Habang usapin yan Oo. Pero sa COCOPEA po, ano po yung parang ngayon po, paano po yung mga estudyante nyo nakakapag-catch up pagdating po sa mga ganitong klaseng class suspension? Paano nyo po hinahabol? Kasi I understand, ang private po ay different dun sa mga sistema ng public.
Ang kagandahan kasi sa mga private schools, yung may mga learner management systems na, so na-upload doon. Actually, kahit wala pang suspension, ina-upload na doon kasama yan sa trabaho ng faculty and the teachers. So, they are able to do that kapag ang decision na lang palagi is whether synchronous ba yan or asynchronous. Depende sa conditions. Minsan kasi, kahit sabi mo mag-o-online, hindi naman lahat ay okay ang connections, di ba? Baka mamaya ma-require pa lumabas yung estudyante. So, magdi-default sa asynchronous. So, ina-upload lang yung mga tasks. Minsan, hindi naman kailangan lagi yan ng computer, but they're able to catch up with all of those. So,
well, attorney, as you said, every year may bagyo, every year may class suspensions. But what lessons have we learned from the past that have been implemented today?
Parang puro we learn from mistakes But I think it's a good development that what DepEd is pursuing. At least ando na tayo, granular, no? Dati localized, ngayon granular. Ibig sabihin they really put value on decisions of academic officials, school officials, because they know really what's happening in their respective communities, both public and private. Yan ang isang, so far, that's something that's positive.
Big step forward.
A step forward.
May silver lining naman tayo.
May silver lining naman.
Oo.
Yeah.
I think yata also we need to accept the fact na ganito talaga yung sitwasyon natin, no? Na kailangan na lang natin talaga integrate yung... Anyway, ang online naman hindi na foreign sa atin because we
Yes.
did this during the pandemic.
During the pandemic, yeah.
All right, thank you so much for your time and insights, Attorney Joseph Noel Estrada, Legal Counsel for Cocopea and Managing Partner of Estrada Law Office. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney.
All right, that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. I'm Cheska Lutancalo.
Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Kapatid, we're One News.
Your side?
All the time.